not to get the shadow.
The art in the encampments, it becomes something unlike the art that we're told to respect, but something 10 times, 100 times more powerful. Hi everyone, before I start, I really want to say thank you for being there when I lost my dog, because I know that I said it at the end of that first video, but it really does help to be able to talk to someone. It doesn't feel as empty in here, and I just thank you for watching that video. Anyways, today I want to talk to you about what I was up to when I wasn't posting for a long time, because you could say that I was a little bit distracted. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire. But what I really want to talk to you about is not necessarily how I was distracted and what I was doing as I was distracted, but something that I learned about art and creativity and activism along the way that led me back to here. So also I want to talk to you more, and so I think the way to do that is to start having a little bit more like talking videos. So I am just going to sit down and talk to you today and show you some of the clips that I grabbed in the last 5 months, because it will not piece together if I don't just have a narrative running in the background. So without further ado, let's chat. Here's a big picture of what I've learned, okay? I have always been one of those people who thinks that art creates culture and culture precedes legislation, right? Like, legislation does not change based on just the politicians and the people who create legislation. That doesn't change based on them being a good person. Laws are not made up based on a moral good. The laws are made up arbitrarily based on other things. The progress that we make as a society comes from us creating a culture in which it is impossible not to pass such legislation any longer. And what I mean by that is, like, the pressure becomes so great that societally we're like, well, yeah, that's just generally accepted, and it pushes legislators and it pushes the powers that be to comply to our wishes, because they want to maintain their power, and they are essentially just folding for us. Like, we, the people, make change in our society. But something that I always stick with is one step further than that. Is like, yes, our culture creates the society in which we live, but in order to create our culture, that's gonna come down all the way down to art. Art creates our culture. Art is where our culture begins, and that is one of the reasons why I think that art has always been so central to all of our movements. And so the last videos that I posted a few months ago, I made because I knew that if I was struggling, I needed an outlet in order to do that. And if I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see culturally in the world, I have to create something for the world, right? And regardless of how many people see it, because if you can push one person to grow, they can push someone else, and it has a ripple effect, right? So those videos were me feeling hopeless in the world and just wanting to do something creative to get back to it. But as I made those videos, I didn't feel as fulfilled as I anticipated to feel. It helped a lot. But we were and are in such an emergency state that it didn't feel like I was doing enough. Because back in October, back in November, and back in December, everything felt like it was on fire, and it was, and it still is. What happened was I felt like we were so on fire that all I could possibly do in order to move forward was only talk about a single thing, and I just stopped doing pretty much everything creative. And that doesn't work. Okay, that doesn't work, and that's what this video is about. Okay, that was kind of long-winded. I thought I was going to do an overview before I ended up talking about all this, but I ended up not doing that, and now I'm just kind of going into it. Anyways, so I felt like I needed to be in the street, and I felt like I needed to be at city council meetings, and I felt like all the content that I put out had to be talking about Palestine, talking about tearing down this empire, talking about all the things that we need to do to change, but I forgot about the art. And the art is central to all of that. People can only hear your words so many times before they start to understand the connections and the emotions that have to come with it, and not just the language that you're using. So, for the last 5 months, what have I been doing? I've been posting on TikTok, and I've been still posting on Bookish Brews, not as often, but what I wasn't doing was making videos. Posting on TikTok for me is a little different because I'm just like talking to the camera, so it doesn't actually feel like anything creative at all, but like for a few months, I like forgot all of my beliefs about art, and it was kind of crazy. What was interesting was, as I forgot about doing all of the creative things in my own life, because of what I've always known to be true, that art is central to all of our movements, the art found me anyways. So what physically happened during that time is, as I was feeling like I couldn't spend my time editing videos, or feeling like I couldn't spend my time even reading fiction, I honestly couldn't focus on any of it, but like feeling like I couldn't spend my time with anything creative, and I wasn't writing, I wasn't editing videos, I wasn't making videos, or I wasn't doing anything that didn't feel like it was directly putting out the fire. As I was doing that, I was starting to connect with more people in my neighborhood, the organizations in my neighborhood, and just getting to know them, going to like events and vigils and doing things that would just make me feel not as alone and make me feel in community with the other people who are feeling the same way that I was feeling this entire time. And I'm still doing that. But what was interesting is, as I was out there thinking that I couldn't spend time doing any of the creative things, the campus encampments started to pop up. And being in Southern California, there were a ton here, as you may have heard of UCLA or UCI. Anyways, the campus encampments started popping up, and that was, I think that was the spring. I believe that was in April. See, all of a sudden now this is a video of how the campus encampments were a catalyst to changing my life. In Southern California, there were a lot of campus encampments, and I was doing my best to try and go. There was something to do, to go support, to do whatever I was doing out there, all of the things that I was doing that was not as creative.
This is another side that protest can be creative.
That is a whole other video. So these campus encampments started popping up, and so I went to some of these campus encampments, and what I realized when I went, I was thinking it was going to be like lots of chanting, lots of whatever, but the thing is that the people who were there, who were in the encampments, they were there 24/7. Like, they were living there. So when I got to the encampments, they weren't as active as I thought they were. And active may be the wrong word, because they were incredibly active. There was always things going on. They had programming, they had cooking, they were feeding each other, they were like taking care of the place, they were cleaning. They do so much, and that's like the whole thing about encampments, and I feel like, again, that's a whole nother video. But what I realized is that in these encampments, most of the time, everyone's bored. And I don't mean to say that in like a negative way. What I mean to say is, because everyone is there 24/7, one of the main things that everyone was asking for was art supplies. As I was buying things to drop off at the encampments, and as I was looking at their list of things that they wanted, they always asked for art supplies. They were asking for art supplies to pass the time. The art in the encampments, it becomes something unlike the art that we're told to respect, but something 10 times, 100 times more powerful. And I want to tell you the story that ended up being the catalyst for pushing me back into my understanding of knowing that art is central to all of our movements. So essentially, I walked up to an encampment and I just asked the students, like, what do they want us to do while we're here, right? Like, do they want us to like help out in any sort of way? And the answer was kind of just like, oh, just being here like means a lot to us. It doesn't, like, you don't have to do anything. We're all working together on everything. And someone who was walking by happened to hear me, and she asked if I could help her out with her mural. And so I was like, bitch, of course I'm gonna help you out with your mural. Like, show me the way, like, please. I would love to help you out with your mural. It's this like beautiful chalk art that's totally unfinished, but it's these two kids sitting on the beach in Gaza, and they're like staring at the water and the sunset over the water. But the two kids are drawings of real kids who were martyred in their home by an Israeli airstrike. I think it was like 6 or 7 of us who were just working on this mural together for someone that we had never met before, and all of us are people who had never met each other before, and we're just working on the same piece of art just to make sure that we were able to finish honoring the memory of those two kids. And every single person who came by, we made sure to tell the story to, so that we could continue to honor their memory, so that these kids had their names spoken halfway across the world. One person came in and they said, this is so beautiful, but I'm really sorry, like, I can't promise that this will be here tomorrow, because the campus has been coming around and spraying water on all the chalk, and it's just gone away every single day. We all were literally so indifferent about it. We just didn't care. We're like, that's fine. And I think the reason that we were all just so okay with like knowing that it would be gone tomorrow is because in that moment, I think we all just so deeply understood that the purpose of art is not for its longevity, but the purpose of art is in doing the art. And so in that moment, I feel like art kind of just forced its way back into my understanding of activism. And after that, I started to realize so many more things. I started to realize that before protests, they would have events for like an art build where you're building the posters for the event. I started to realize that all of the encampments are just full of art. There are posters everywhere, that there's paintings everywhere. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I started to realize that there were just events for like things like just doing art in the park. And I started to realize that these moments, those moments where we're all getting together and we're doing something creative together, and that I think is so important for changing the world. And it just, because of that moment, I think it helped me find my way back here. So anyways, I guess the big lesson for me is just that art and this movement and all of our movements will never be as separate as I think they are, even when everything is on fire. Anyways, thank you for listening to me yap. I hope to do more of these types of videos because I have big dreams for making these videos more cohesive and not just like a hodgepodge of clips that I randomly took over the course of like 5 months. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me talk, and I will see you next time.